and welcome to Ask Your Coach group. Today we're going to talk about goals and goal setting and New Year's resolutions. Also about what's the difference between the resolution and a goal and how you can set your goals in a way that they will help you to achieve them. Okay, we are three here today. I'm having Anne Justi here and she's going to start, and then I'm also having our business coach here, Jeff Heggie, and he's going to follow. And after that, we're going to talk and discuss and everything. So basically, if you're having any questions, post them in the Facebook. We're going to come back to them at the end of the session. Okay. So hello, and I'm going to pin you and on the screen. I'm going to mute myself and please start and go ahead.
Hi. So I don't know if you remember that last year you may have set goals, or you might have said, gee, I want 2020 to be such, this. And then, of course, not only did COVID hit, but other things happened. And that you might have said, oh, well, but it's the outside world. And that's what I did at the beginning, at about first quarter, about April, is when I started blaming the outside world. But then when it came down to it, it was really up to me to then repivot. So even though you do New Year's resolutions, and every business usually has employees as well as themselves put out their annual goals, but they are revised every quarter, every month. And one of the things that Jeff has on his website is things that you ask yourself daily and monthly. So I want to talk about the fact that this year is this year, and we still have COVID, and we still are doing more and more things online. That's why we're here, and you're not in some audience with me. But what I want to talk about really is that my clients come to me, I'm a desire coach, and they say, what I want is out of reach. And I say, no, it's really not out of reach, but you need to set some goals. You first need to find your desires. You need to find out why you want that, and then set goals. And with those goals, you're going to be doing resolutions, because the meaning of a resolution is I resolve to take this action. Whereas a goal is I wish to lose 20 pounds, or I wish to open a new business, or whatever your goal is. And your goal can be big or small. So today I'm going to cover 4 different topics really quickly and give you some very big hints about what you can do about your goals and resolutions. I would say your resolve is your action and your why, and I'll get to how you can use that. But think of really your desires first, and then go to your goals. And I'm going to be going over how it affects small habits affect your goals. I'm going to go over the 4 or 5 things can get in your way. And I'm going to talk about how daily affirmations, or if you want to use Jeff's questionnaire, how daily and especially monthly reviews make a huge difference in how you can then adjust. So if you start on a small goal and you start going off that goal, that you can then realize very quickly within a month, a day, a week, a month, to correct to where you are, and also respond. Because one of my other things is that you may have a goal and something better comes along. And that's what actually happened to me this year. So let's start with the easy stuff. You have your desire. Say you're saying, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. And what you have to ask yourself is, why are you losing those 20 pounds? Is it to look good? Is it to be healthy? Is it to fit into those clothes that you can't fit into anymore? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you want to play with your kids, or you want to take on some, you want to go hike that Appalachian Trail? I'm thinking of things that I might want to do. And then what you want to do is ask specific actions. So you want to lose those 20 pounds by a certain date, or I'm losing a pound a week. And what happens if that doesn't happen? So, what you want to remind yourself every morning that you wake up, every morning that you wake up, the first thing is the result that you want to attend. So, let's go with that 20 pounds. So, I want to lose 20 pounds. And why I want to do it is that I'm actually having ill effects affecting my health. And then the action that I'm committed to is that I'm doing meal planning. I'm trying to stay within 1,200 calories. That's my favorite food and is not really dense food. And that I'm going to be working out 20 minutes a day. And I recite this every morning, but I'm also reciting it with emotion. And one of the things that's a trick that I learned from Wayne Dyer, when he was trying to write a book, he discovered the cover, he developed the cover and the title, even though he might have changed the title by the time he was done, and his table of contents. And he literally worked backwards because he saw the end goal. So I might look at a picture of me from even 5 years ago and say, I want that body. And I realized that I may not get that body, but that's my inspiration. How am I going to feel when I'm less achy, or that I can really hike that 10-mile trail when I'm not able to do more than a mile or two now? So that's one thing. And there are studies that show specifically that if I did a goal or a resolution that I am not going to eat any fried foods this year because they're bad for me, or I'm not going to overindulge in desserts, that's a negative um, resolution. That's a negative goal. And you have to, not only with the law of attraction, but psychologically. And there was a study that was actually published last week that they studied people who did resolutions last year that were negative, as in, I'm going to avoid this, I'm not going to do this, versus people who actually said positive, as in, I'm going to do. So maybe you want to start out like what I teach people in desires. Maybe you want to say, I don't want this. So then I say, well, what do you want? And then do the affirmation, do the goal in the positive. So I'm going to bake my, roasted vegetables instead of having fried zucchini sticks. Or I'm going, and the other thing about avoidance that's in the Atomic Habits book is that you can then take those items that you feel can trip you up. And it's my tip number 2, and it's actually not mine, it's Hal Elrod's from the Miracle Mornings. Tip number 2 is clear your environment of things you do want to avoid. So it is good to learn what you want to avoid, but just clear your environment of it. That could be people, that could be things, that could be food, and including your environment. Like if your treadmill is now your clothes horse, get it all off, polish it off, clean it up, test it out, pre-program what you want to do. And also in Atomic Habits, we would say that would be step 1. Step 2 would be wake up in time for you to be able to do your workout, get in your clothes, do 5 minutes on the treadmill. Now you might say 5 minutes is not a lot, but if you successfully break down your goal into tiny habits that move you toward it, and this is also tip number 3, surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable. Maybe you text your best friend saying, I spent 5 minutes on the treadmill, and they text you back, oh, I spent, and they could say, I spent 30 minutes in the gym and I feel great. And it's not a competition. Find yourself mentors. We're all coaches. The reason people come to us is that we can reframe and give you insights, and we have experience, and we take our experience and our coaching knowledge and what we've learned as a coach, and we give you back not only tips, tricks, but reframes. Like, don't think of it in the negative, think of it as in the positive. Another thing is publicly declare it. So the best thing you can do about your goals is publish them on Facebook. Because guess what? Everybody will say, hey, you wanted to lose 20 pounds, or you wanted to run that marathon. And then getting back to what Jeff's going to talk about a little bit is look at the monthly. Make sure they're still relevant. So maybe I wanted to just lose that 20 pounds and now I want to build up more muscle now that I've lost that 20 pounds, or whatever's coming up for you. Or I had an injury or an illness and now I need to adjust my workout routine. So we've covered that. And also make it your mission. Take your number one goal, make it your mission, and say that no matter what, there is no other option. If it was your life and health is your life, make it your mission. And if you want to perform miracles, here's what you do. You take unwavering faith, and this is my final point to leave you with. Take unwavering faith, and that faith can come with inspiration of they can do it, so I can do it, or I deserve a healthy body or business or successful business or whatever. So you can take your extraordinary faith from God, from books, podcasts, other people, or within yourself. And then take extraordinary action. And extraordinary action for you might look very different. For me, 3 years ago, extraordinary action was that I could walk without my brace. And that may be every day people walk around without braces. So for some, it's extraordinary action. So how you choose your final points, your extraordinary action, is what you're doing getting you closer to your results? Is it out of your comfort zone? As in, I went from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And are you being consistent? As in, do I work five times out of 7 in that week? So remember, affirmations, resolutions, goals, positivity, have things, be accountable, get things out of your way, and take extraordinary faith and extraordinary effort. And at least one of your goals, you'll win on.
Thank you, Anne. That was a great, I would say, sum up. I'm wondering how Jeff is going to add to that. Okay, Jeff, without any hesitation, I'm going to pin you on and ask you to say something as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Yana. And that was great. I took a ton of notes there. I loved what you were talking about, and I hope I can add to it. And as I told both of you earlier, as I'm speaking, if either of you want to add anything, please chime in. There's so many places we can go with goals. And I think the problem we see is at this time of the year, everyone thinks they've got to set their goals. And within a month, how many of them have given up on them? And I think a big part of that is we set our goals and we don't really believe in them. We don't believe we can really achieve them. And one of the things Anne said is, are you committed to it? And I think a big part is we set goals, but we don't change anything. We think we're going to do the same thing that we've always been doing and get different results. That's insanity, right? And how are we going to get different results and achieve different goals if we don't make changes in our lives? And so I loved what you talked about, Anne, and I think there's some great points in there. And I just want to hopefully add some value to that. Part of it is adding to what Anne said is in our habits. And I think if you're setting goals and wanting to achieve them, you've got to develop your daily success habits. The things that you do on a daily basis, rain or shine, whatever, you're going to do them. In Jeff Olson always talks about these success habits as things that are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. And that's what you find is things become easy to do, but if it's not convenient, it's easy not to do them as well. So one of the things Anne was talking about was the questions I ask. Darren Hardy talks about a concept in the compound effect called bookending your days. And what that is basically you can control how you start your day. You can control how you end your day. The middle of your day, maybe you can, maybe things go sideways on you. But if you can bookend your days and implement these success habits in it that are tied to your goals, then you can make sure that every single day you're working towards those goals. But you've got to put things in place that are going to be every day. And so what Anne was talking about is I've got what I call my mindset journal. And one of the things in there are my mindset questions. And part of the process with my mindset questions, and you can find those at jeffheggie.com/mindset, and you can get all the questions that I use. But what I do is I go through these questions. So first, here's my process in the morning. I get up early and I go through these questions. I review my schedule for the day. And I've actually gone through the process of setting up my goals before this. I write out my top 5 goals. And then in chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill teaches you about your definite chief aim. I've created a definite chief aim that is derived from those top 5 goals. And so by hand, I do it by hand. I don't type it, because if you're doing it by hand, you're imprinting it into your subconscious more. I write them out. I write out my definite chief aim. I go through my mindset questions, and then I'm ready. I go to the gym. Now, when I talk about bookending your days, the other day I did that and I got through all that. I go out to the vehicle to leave a little before 5 a.m. and I've got a flat tire. Well, everyone else in the house is asleep. I'm not going to fire up the air compressor to fill up my tire. And so that's a great example of how my day right from 5 a.m. got messed up. Then I ended up having to go get it fixed. All sorts of stuff happened. But then at the end of the day, I still have control how I'm going to end my day. And that's when I do my reading, some of my studying. I go back to my mindset journal, review my goals, and read my definite chief aim again. And so that's where I think bookending your days can become valuable. But speaking specifically about goals, one of the things that Anne was talking about, first of all, on the positive versus negative, I 100% agree with that. You set goals that you're not going to do something, your subconscious mind is just hearing that something. It's not whether you're saying, I'm not going to do that. It's just hearing that item. And so I agree that if you can put the focus on the positive side, that you're going to have a much better results. So as Anne was speaking, I just took a few notes down, and I just want to kind of go through them. So it might be a little bit back and forth. But one of the things that I see a lot as well, and I'm going to tie it into something that Anne said, was when people are setting their goals, they put the effort in, they think of these great goals that they're going to set, and they're big goals, and they know they're going to stretch, and that's great. I encourage people, if they're committed to them, that you need to set big goals. And then what Anne said about publicly declaring it, well, then all of a sudden they take the goal from here and they're like, well, I'm not going to tell everyone that's my real goal. I'm going to lower my standard. And so they're almost embarrassed of it or something, instead of being proud and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do, hold me accountable. And so I think that's one of the things, Tony Robbins always says, people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And so I think people just need to really get some clarity on what their goals are and believe in themselves. I mean, for example, I have a friend that had a client that you would all know her name if I mentioned it, that when she started, she had a good following on social media, but she wasn't a coach. She was actually in photography. And he taught her some things on how she could monetize what she was doing. And, she had a hope that she could make maybe $500 or whatever. I don't know what her number was in her mind. In the first 2 weeks, she made $30,000. There's no way she would have set her goal that big, because she wouldn't have believed it. But when you set those big goals, if you can believe it, I mean, as Napoleon Hill says, if you can believe it, or not Napoleon Hill, can't even think who it said right now, but if you can believe it, you can achieve it. So that's what we've got to do, is be able to set those goals, but we've got to believe it within ourselves, because if we don't believe it, we're not going to achieve it. So once you can do that, and that's, with the daily affirmations, writing out the goals every day, those sort of things help you gain that faith and make it a part of you to believe those as well. Now, one of the big things I believe as well is when you finally figure out what your goals are, you set your goals, your action steps and what you're going to do. As I mentioned earlier, what are you going to do different? If you're trying to set a goal that's different than what you're doing now, you've got to know what you have to do different to achieve those goals. And so break it down. In my Daily Success Strategies podcast, that's the first thing I say on Monday. I say, what are your goals this week? What do you plan on accomplishing by Friday? So that on Friday, you can say it's been a successful week and it's brought you closer to your bigger goal. So look at it from, if you want to achieve it by December 31st, what do you have to accomplish each month to be able to do that? And break it down specifically. And then break it down. What do I have to do this week by week to do that? And then break it down day by day. And, as you look through it, get specific on the actions that you need to take in order to achieve that goal. Because there are things, we could talk about reticular activating system, the law of attraction, all those things do come into play, but you've got to put the effort in to make things happen as well. You've got to take those actions. And another thing that I think, I'm going to tie this in with two of Anne's things I'm going to tie it in with what Anne was saying about, ties in with publicly declaring it or getting a coach and a mentor, but measuring. And share an example for this. Even how am I doing with time, Yana? Am I okay? Okay. Measuring, you're going to get results way better than if you're not measuring. So an example I'll give is, a couple months back, my wife and I both decided to really focus on our fitness and our health and our eating and stuff. And we were measuring our food, our macros. We knew exactly every day what our protein was going to be, our carbs were going to be, our fat was going to be. And the results were incredible. And we got to a period where I can't remember, I don't know if I was traveling or what happened, but I quit measuring. I continued to eat well. I continued to do what I thought I was eating well. The exercise part continued on, but I wasn't measuring and keeping track of that. She did, and she kept doing excellent. Me thinking, I don't have time, I'm busy, whatever, I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to eat well. Things reversed on me, and it was a backslide, and it brought me back to almost the starting point of where I first began. And I think that's a good example of measuring. And, with my accountability partner, we meet every couple weeks, and we'll say, okay, here's our goals. What are the actions you have to take this week to do it? And we have an app that we use that we have a daily measuring ability on there to do that. And, for whatever goal it is, I can go in every day and click once I've done what I've committed to, and he can check on me. There's so much we can talk about here. One of the things that Anne talked about was, the people you surround yourself with. I think that's incredibly huge, especially getting an accountability partner and someone that's going to hold you accountable. One other thing, and then we can have more of a conversation about this, is one thing that with my accountability partner, what we've done is we've always looked at our goals and tied rewards to it. That if we both accomplish these, or if you accomplish this, I don't, these are the rewards. And I've always been, like we were talking about, putting it into the positive aspect. I've always stayed away from punishment type things, but we have made a bit of a change this year, that we've actually added a little bit of punishment just because it's fun. And we actually haven't finalized it yet, but we said, maybe it's something, if we don't meet our fitness goals, we have to run in a 10K and a Speedo or something like that. And then he actually sent me a video on LinkedIn yesterday, someone that had posted a video on LinkedIn of them doing some happy dance because they had missed their goal. And so, there's ways to have fun with it, just so you can keep your focus and keep accountable and hopefully achieve everything you set out to do.
Okay, cool. That was very interesting. I think that the thing is that we're having so little time here, right? The subjects are so broad, but I wanted to talk about the rewards, so I'm happy that you brought it up. And also one more thing, which I think is quite important, especially for women who are maybe at home or who are doing the business at home, is like the amount of the goals and how big the goals are. Because yes, I mean, the vision, the goal should be big, but maybe when we were talking about that, every day you're setting 5 goals, it's okay. But what I want to say is when I'm coaching, I'm meeting women who, for example, don't consider cleaning the house the goal, right? When we're talking about the goals, they're always thinking like the business goals or some big goals. And then of course they end up not finishing anything because they have to clean the house and they have to take care of the baby and so on and so far. So I just wanted to say that we have to put it in context and also like don't be that hard on ourselves because sometimes we are, right? And then what I also see very often is something what I call, I think it's not a term, but I call it like absolute goals, which for me is like I either do it or I give it up. You know, like that it doesn't have this continuum like, okay, so I said I'm not going to eat chocolate. Okay, I've got chocolate today, so I'm giving up on my dream, on my goal because I can't do that, right? So this is something which is actually connected to that because if you're having, for example, sometimes you get in the stress situation, somebody dies, let's say, extremely stress situation. So you are not on your routine, you are not on your schedule, and you mess up, and then it's very hard to come back, especially if you in your heart, if you feel that you fail because you were not able at that moment to follow your dreams, your steps, your goals. So that's a whole another topic. I think that's a huge one, but I think that it's just I just want to finish it on a positive note that if you mess up, you know, if you don't, I don't know, if you don't stick to your plan, just come back to it.
Yeah. And can I add to that, Yana?
Yeah, sure.
So like talking about those 5 goals every day, those are the my 5 main big goals. Those aren't my daily things. So I mean they're the same thing every day and it's just something I'm imprinting every day. And then part of that process too is what would be my task list, but basically it's what's the outcome I want to have today. I figure out the outcome I want to have and then figure out all my tasks for that day. But kind of going what you're talking about too is, yeah, I think setting the big as a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal is great. But if it's so big that there's no way of achieving it, it's easy to lose focus and keep trying to do it. That's where I think some people will set big goals and be excited about it January 1st. And then by the 30th, they're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to get that, and forget about it. So yeah, I think it's important to make sure it is something that even though you're reaching for the stars, it's still reachable, because you don't want to lose focus and excitement about it. But at the same time, like you said, if you've set your goals, and like you said, it's a whole nother topic, but when you look at failure, including failure with goals, you've got to be able to look at it and say, okay, yeah, I did, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to learn from this, go another direction, and keep going. It's just a road bump in the road. It's not the end of the road.
Right. And also, like me and Jevi are preparing the Unstoppable Motivation thing, the program, and we were talking about that one of the questions, actually, like the goal question should be like, how do you want to feel? Like it should be about the feeling. How do you want to feel today? And what are you going to do to feel good? Because if you're having too many things that we have to accomplish and we feel we have to, it's no fun. And if it's no fun, there is a chance that you're not going to do that. So there should be something which is going to bring the fun or the reward into your day, so that you would feel, okay, I'm going to feel good because I will do this and this and that, and I will have fun with this. Because I think that the overall feeling, if you set it up right in the morning, you might actually have very good feeling all day. It's important, right? What do you think, Anne?
Well, one thing that you can look on my post, because it's a point I didn't have time to talk about because it goes deep, is it's called identity-based goals. And that is, who do I have to be to achieve this goal? And that actually happened to me very recently. Very recently, I was asked to speak on a stage, and I realized, hey, I really need to redo my website. Hey, I need to actually have a a downloadable handout for whoever is listening to that podcast for that specific subject. And I said, oh, and I have 4 days to do this. And I was staying up all hours of the day and night, and my husband was too. And I realized that it was a goal of mine, and I had put it off, or I said, I'll get to it. And then when I got called to do this, I realized that I really needed to do that. And so I had the motivation to step up to it. But you need to ask yourself, how would a person who hikes the Appalachian Trail, what would they do every day to maintain their fitness when they're not on the trail or whatever? And I agree with Jeff about measurement, but you can also do it in very small increments, because Atomic Habits talks about how you tie it with your other habits, how you make small habit changes or big. It'll also take you 40 days of doing something for you to really sink into that habit. That's what I learned in Kundalini yoga, because I'm also a yoga therapist. But this is a huge topic. It ties into a lot of things. So goals, I want to say, is the result that you want to have. And then you got to link it into measurement, review, daily actions, who you are. Because if you just sit there and say, I'm a millionaire, and you really don't believe it, or I will be a millionaire, and you don't really believe it, and then you don't do actions, or what Jeff said, I can't say that in public, so I downsize my goal. You downsize your actions so that they're, eat an elephant one bite at a time, or don't eat an elephant, but you chunk it down into small things. I know we're over time, so it's a huge topic. We have lots of good posts. We're going to have posts for a couple more days.
Okay, well, I will leave it up to you, and to wrap it up, please go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have a question, please do ask us. We're there for you. We have resources. There's a whole team of us. You see 3 here. There's a whole group of us.
Well, I think one thing to point out too is we've been talking a lot about how you go about achieving your goals and whatnot. A lot of people get stuck on, how do I set my goals? And I think that if that's where you're at, to reach out to any of us, and we'd be happy to help. That's actually something through my Daily Success Strategies podcast that I've been offering, a free strategy session that'll help you set your goals and whatnot. And so, yeah, if that's the stage that you're at, reach out to any of us, and we'd be happy to help you get on the right path to be doing that.
Sure, great. Thank you, guys.
Hope I can speak for all of us.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, every coach has to know how to set goals, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be coaches. It would be sad.
That's right.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see each other next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.